The alien girl limped through the crowded market, her missing leg making her fall behind everyone else. She pulled a small tattered cloak around her body, hiding the broken limb under it. She looked around nervously as alien traders and buyers passed, by their eyes curious but cold. She carried a small glowing sign in her hand. It flickered and read, "Selling myself for a prosthetic leg." She whispered the words again in her mind, hoping someone would hear her. She knew it sounded strange, and maybe desperate, but it was her only choice. She had no money left, no family, no friends, only a broken body and a desperate heart. She moved slowly from stall to stall, hoping to find someone willing to help. She offered a small wave to a trader who shook his head and muttered something under his breath. She lowered her gaze, trying not to cry. She had always been strong, always tried to survive. But today everything felt heavier than ever. The sun glared down on her pale skin, making her feel exposed and weak. She saw children running past, laughing at a small glowing toy, but she could not play. She could not run. She could not even stand without pain and humiliation following her. She crouched near a market bench and tried to breathe slowly, controlling the tears that threatened to spill. She wondered if anyone would ever care, if anyone saw her not as a broken alien, but as someone with a soul. Someone who could feel and dream. She remembered the long nights when she lay in the dark, trying to imagine a better life, imagining someone reaching out to her, imagining a human who would see her as more than a broken creature. The wind blew past, carrying the smell of fried alien food and the sharp scent of burning metal from nearby stalls. The sounds of chatter and bartering surrounded her, but she felt invisible. She tried to lift her head and catch the gaze of anyone walking by. She held her sign higher, but still, no one stopped. Whispers followed her. She heard alien voices saying how useless she was, how no one would take a broken girl for anything. She closed her eyes for a moment, fighting the shame and the growing panic in her chest. She thought maybe this was the end. Maybe no one would ever care. Maybe she would have to beg for scraps or hide in the shadows forever. Then she sensed it, a presence, a tall shadow moving toward her slowly and deliberately. She opened her eyes and looked up. She saw a human standing a few steps away. His eyes calm but searching. He did not laugh. He did not point. He simply looked at her carefully, like he was reading her, like he could see all the pain and courage at the same time. Her heart jumped. She did not understand why he was interested. She had learned that humans were rare in this market, and that most of them walked past aliens like she did. She tried to hide her face under her cloak, but curiosity made her peek. She noticed his calm posture and the way he moved without hesitation. He did not ask for payment or question her worth. He only said in a quiet voice, "Are you really selling yourself for a prosthetic leg?" She nodded slowly, unsure of what to say. Her voice caught in her throat. She nodded again, hoping he would not leave, hoping he might be different than the rest. The human crouched slightly, his eyes studying her. He seemed to measure her not as a broken object, but as someone who could survive, someone who could fight, someone who could matter. He asked, "What will it take?" She hesitated. The words stuck in her mind. She had no coins, no credits, no shiny goods. She only had herself, she whispered. "I have nothing, only myself." She looked down, expecting rejection, but instead she saw something unexpected. A small smile, a small spark of interest, a flicker of hope. For the first time in days, she felt seen and maybe safe. The crowd continued around them, noisy and uncaring. But in that moment, she felt a connection. Someone was finally paying attention. Someone was finally noticing the broken alien girl, who no one wanted. She did not know what would happen next, but for the first time she dared to hope, and that hope made her heart race with fear and excitement. The human looked at the broken alien girl with careful eyes, his expression calm but unreadable. He stepped closer and crouched slightly to meet her gaze, his hand hovering just above the small glowing sign she held. She flinched at first, but then noticed there was no threat in his movements. He asked again in a quiet voice, "Are you really willing to give yourself for a prosthetic leg?" She nodded slowly, her heart pounding. She had never imagined anyone would even consider her offer. Not like this. Not like someone who seemed different from the traders and buyers around her. The human smiled, faintly and said, "I do not want money, I do not want credits, I only want your trust." She blinked. Confused, trust had never been asked from her before. She had been ignored, sold, insulted, and abandoned all her life. She wondered why this human would ask for something intangible, something she thought she could never give. She hesitated, a deep fear creeping into her chest. What if he lied? What if he was just another alien hunter waiting to take advantage of her? What if hope was just a trap? She swallowed hard and said, "I can try." Her voice was barely audible above the chatter of the market. He nodded and gestured for her to follow him. She looked around, once seeing no one approaching. She picked up her sign and stumbled after him carefully. Avoiding the crowded stalls, the human steps were firm and sure. He moved through narrow alleys and broken walkways, while she struggled to keep up, her broken leg making every step painful. But her curiosity stronger than her fear. The shadows of the market grew longer as they moved away from the busy lights and the chatter of traders. She noticed him glancing back occasionally, as if checking that she was still following the way was unfamiliar to her. The smells of smoke and rust filled the air, and the distant hum of spacecraft engines echoed around them. Suspense grew in her chest. She did not know if this path led to safety or danger. She had never been this far from the public market alone with a human. She felt exposed, yet strangely protected. He finally stopped in front of a low metal door that looked old and forgotten. He pressed a small panel beside it, and the door slid open with a hiss, revealing a dimly lit workshop filled with strange gadgets, glowing panels, and half-finished machines. She felt both awe and fear. The place seemed alive with a quiet energy. She stepped inside hesitantly, her eyes darting around to take in every detail. The human closed the door behind her and turned to face her. He said, "This is where you will get your prosthetic leg, but it will not be simple. It will take courage and patience." She swallowed hard and nodded, the fear in her chest mixed with anticipation. She had never imagined a place like this, never imagined someone willing to help. Without demand for payment, he guided her to a chair in the center of the room, a chair that seemed designed for treatment and experiments. She felt a shiver run down her spine as she sat on it. The human began examining her carefully, noting every scar, every mark of pain and survival, his hands gentle but precise. She felt vulnerability she had never felt before, yet there was no cruelty, only focus. He asked about her past, about her life, about the struggles that brought her here. She answered, hesitantly, sharing details she had kept hidden even from herself. She felt exposed yet understood for the first time in a long time. She realized someone was listening. Someone cared, even if silently. The hum of machines and the glow of panels surrounded them. Suspense filled the room. She did not know if anyone could find her here or if anyone would try to interrupt what was happening. She felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and disbelief. The human finally stepped back and said, "The prosthetic will not only replace what you lost, it may give you abilities you never imagined." She gasped, imagining what that could mean. She had never thought of herself as powerful or useful, but the thought of something new made her heart race with hope and trepidation. She looked at him, her eyes searching for lies, and found none. Only calm determination. The first spark of trust had taken root, and for the first time she felt the possibility of a future that did not belong to pain and rejection, but to courage and change. The alien girl followed the human deeper into the workshop, her broken leg making each step painful and heavy. She tried to keep her eyes on him, but the strange glow from machines and gadgets all around distracted her. She saw robotic arms moving slowly, repairing themselves, and small floating drones scanning the room. She wondered what kind of place this was and why he had brought her here. Her heart raced with a mixture of fear and curiosity. The human finally stopped in front of a large glowing table that seemed to float slightly above the floor. He gestured for her to sit, and she hesitated before carefully lowering herself onto it. The surface was cool against her skin and hummed softly, like it had a life of its own. He walked around her slowly, his eyes scanning every detail of her body, every scar, every sign of pain. She felt exposed, like she was being studied in a way that was not cruel but very intense. He finally stopped in front of her and said, "This prosthetic leg will not be ordinary. It will give you strength and balance like you have never felt before. She shivered, imagining what that could mean. She had always felt weak and unwanted. But now there was a chance to be different, to be someone who mattered. He motioned to a panel on the wall and pressed a few buttons. Machines started whirring and lights flickered across the room. The hum grew louder and the air felt charged with energy. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. But her heart kept racing. The human turned to her and said, "While I work on your leg, you must trust me completely. You must not panic, and you must follow every instruction." She nodded silently, her fear battling with excitement. She had never trusted anyone this much before. But something in his eyes made her believe he would not hurt her. He picked up a small device, glowing faintly, and held it near her missing leg. She flinched instinctively, but he smiled faintly and said, "This will help me understand how to build the perfect prosthetic." She relaxed slightly, but tension still ran through her body. She noticed shadows moving outside the workshop through small cracks in the walls. She wondered if someone had followed them from the market. Her heart jumped every time a shadow passed. She tried to steady her breathing, imagining what could happen if the people who ignored or mocked her found her here. She would be helpless if they tried to take her away. Now she realized she was not just waiting for a leg. She was waiting for her chance to become strong, to survive, and maybe even escape the world that had ignored her. The human worked silently around her, assembling strange parts and connecting wires that glowed with soft light. She watched in awe and fear. The machine seemed alive, and the way he moved made her feel like she was in a place between reality and dream. Suspense filled every corner of the workshop. Every hum, every flicker of light made her heart race. The air felt thick with anticipation. She wondered what the prosthetic would feel like when it was ready, and how her life could change. She could not imagine herself walking again without pain. But now hope was possible. She noticed his hands, steady and precise. He moved with confidence and skill. She felt a strange warmth, knowing that someone cared enough to help her in a way no one else ever had. The door suddenly creaked and she tensed, looking toward it. She thought maybe the gang from the market had found them. Maybe they had come to take her back. She looked at the human and saw calm determination. He turned toward the door but did not panic. He said, "Stay here and trust me." She nodded. Swallowing her fear and focusing on the leg, she realized for the first time that she had to be brave, not just for herself, but for the chance at a new life. She felt her heart pounding and her body tense. Every sound made her jump, but she stayed seated on the glowing table, watching him work. Suspense filled the room, and the unknown outside made every second heavier. She thought about her past, her broken body, and the long nights alone. She realized something had changed. Someone had finally seen her, and maybe that sight would be the first step toward something greater than she had ever imagined. Her courage and trust were being tested, and she felt a small spark of hope that maybe she was not just a broken alien, but someone who could fight, survive, and rise. The alien girl sat on the glowing table, her heart still racing from the shadows she had seen outside the workshop. She felt both fear and curiosity as the human continued working. On the prosthetic leg, his hands steady and precise, every movement confident and deliberate. She watched wires connect and machines hum. The strange lights reflected in her wide eyes, making her feel like she was in a place between reality and dreams. She had never imagined a human would take such care for her. She felt a small spark of hope, but the tension in the air was heavy. The wind from the cracked windows made the lights flicker and shadows danced across the walls. She tried to steady her breathing and focus on the human. She knew he had warned her about danger, and she realized now that danger was very close. She could feel it in the vibrations of the floor, the hum of machines, and the faint metallic smell that seemed to grow stronger with every passing second. Suddenly the door rattled. A hard knock echoed through the workshop, and the alien girl froze. She looked at the human. His eyes narrowed, but his movements did not falter. He whispered, "Stay here. Trust me." She nodded, silently, her fear rising as footsteps approached rapidly from the other side of the door. She heard low voices demanding she be handed over, calling her useless and broken. She clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms, trying to hold back a scream. The human moved quickly, setting up strange devices and panels. She noticed the small drones floating into position and the robotic arms whirring to life. It was as if the workshop itself had awakened to protect her. The door burst open, and a gang of shady aliens rushed in, their eyes full of greed and cruelty. The human moved with incredible speed, intercepting them, using gadgets that shot glowing nets and electric pulses. The alien girl watched in awe as he fought with skill and precision, her fear mixed with admiration and a small thrill. She had never felt so alive. The gang shouted threats and tried to push forward, but the human anticipated every move. She realized for the first time that he was not just an inventor. He was a warrior, a protector, and she was the reason he fought. Her chest heaved with adrenaline. Her broken leg made her tremble, but the energy in the room inspired her. She wanted to help. She wanted to be brave, but she had never fought before. The human's movements were fluid and calculated. She noticed his eyes never left her for a second. He shouted, "Keep back," and she ducked behind a tall machine. The machines around them seemed to respond to the human, his inventions moving with purpose, shielding her and striking the attackers. She felt a strange sense of safety. Despite the chaos, the aliens were relentless and their voices grew louder, demanding she be surrendered. She clenched her teeth and forced herself to breathe slowly. She realized that fear could not control her. Now she had to watch and learn and trust the human. She saw him use a glowing rod to create a barrier of energy, and the aliens bounced back. Stunned, she gasped at the light and felt a thrill running through her veins. The human glanced at her briefly and nodded as if telling her to stay focused. She understood he wanted her alive. He wanted her to survive. He wanted her to trust him completely. Suspense built with every passing second. She could hear the aliens regrouping outside the reinforced windows. She wondered if this was just the beginning or if worse was coming. She felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and anticipation. Every sense heightened. She noticed the soft hum of the prosthetic leg parts on the table, her future waiting to be attached. The human fought skillfully and calmly. Despite the chaos, the alien girl realized for the first time that she could be more than broken. She could survive. She could be strong. She could fight alongside someone who believed in her. She watched every movement, absorbing courage and hope. The workshop glowed and hummed around her. The human's eyes met hers briefly, and she saw trust, determination, and care. She realized that together, they could face the unknown. The gang was strong, but she felt a strange confidence building inside her. The prosthetic leg would soon give her power. But even now, she felt the first spark of strength and survival as the human prepared to face the final wave of attackers. The suspense in the workshop was electric, and she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The alien girl crouched behind a glowing machine, her heart pounding as the gang of aliens pressed harder against the protective barriers. The hum of energy shields filled the workshop, and every flicker of light made her nerves tingle. She watched the human move with precision and power, every gadget responding to his commands. The drones darted around, blinding the attackers, and the robotic arms swung with perfect timing, striking with flashes of electric light. She gasped as a pulse of energy knocked several of the intruders back. They scrambled to regain their footing, but the human anticipated every step. He moved like a shadow, weaving through the chaos. His eyes never left hers, and she felt a strange mix of fear, admiration, and hope. She realized he was not just protecting her. He was teaching her without words how to stay calm, how to watch, how to trust and survive. The attackers shouted curses and threats, their voices bouncing off the walls. The smell of burning metal and ozone filled the room. The alien girl gritted her teeth and held her breath, hoping none of them would break through. She noticed the parts of her prosthetic leg on a nearby table glowing softly. The human had set them up as if waiting for the right moment. She felt a spark of excitement. She would soon have something powerful, something that could change everything. The gang started regrouping outside the reinforced windows. She heard their low whispers plotting their next attack. Suspense grew with every passing second. She wanted to run, but she knew running meant leaving the human and the chance at a new life. He glanced at her and nodded, signaling her to stay calm and focused. She obeyed, trying to keep her trembling hands still. She watched as he activated a series of holographic traps. The aliens faltered as glowing grids appeared under their feet. Some of them tripped, others froze. Confused by the sudden barriers, the human used the moment to move quickly, striking with a small staff that released bolts of energy knocking the intruders into the walls. The alien girl's eyes widened. She had never seen such skill or control, she felt. Her fear slowly transformed into a strange exhilaration. She had always been alone, always been helpless. But now she saw strength and strategy in motion. She realized she could survive with the human. She could be more than broken. She noticed one of the aliens break through a weaker section of the barrier. The human spun and caught him with a net of electric light. The alien screamed and fell back. The girl held her breath, feeling her chest tighten. She had never imagined herself in a scene like this, alive and watching a human fight to protect her. She felt a strange rush of courage. Her broken leg no longer felt like a burden. It reminded her of why she had come here, of the hope she had dared to feel. She looked at the glowing parts of her prosthetic leg and felt a tingle of anticipation. Every piece, carefully crafted by the human, seemed ready to give her strength. She imagined herself standing, tall, running, jumping, and fighting with the new leg. The thought gave her courage. The human glanced at her again and said, "Prepare to rise soon. Your strength will match the need." The alien girl nodded, understanding that she had a choice. She could remain frightened and weak, or she could embrace the chance to become something greater. She felt the first spark of power as the prosthetic leg hummed with energy, anticipation coursing through her veins. The aliens tried one last push, their numbers overwhelming. But the human had anticipated everything. He activated a series of defense mechanisms. Drones swirled and holographic grids trapped the intruders, each movement precise and unstoppable. The alien girl watched in awe. She felt hope, courage, and excitement building inside her. The prosthetic leg would soon be hers, and with it the chance to rise from broken to powerful. She realized for the first time that someone had finally believed in her, and she had to believe in herself. The suspense and danger had not passed, but the first step toward her transformation was here, and she knew nothing would ever be the same again. The alien girl sat on the glowing table, her heart still racing from the battle. Her eyes fixed on the prosthetic leg. Lying in front of her, it glowed softly as if waiting for her to claim it. She took a deep breath and lifted her hands, shaking slightly with anticipation. The human knelt beside her, his fingers gentle as he began attaching small connectors and aligning the parts. He spoke softly, explaining each step. She watched carefully, trying to remember everything he said. The hum of machines and drones filled the room, creating a rhythm that matched the beat of her heart. She felt a mixture of fear, excitement, and awe. This was the moment her life could change forever. She had dreamed of walking, running, and standing tall again, but never imagined it could be like this. She gritted her teeth as the human tightened a few bolts. The prosthetic began to pulse, with light warmth spread through her leg, and she gasped, feeling strength flowing into her. She tried to move it slightly and felt balance. She felt control and a spark of something new. The human stepped back, observing carefully, making small adjustments. Here and there he nodded and said, "Try it." She hesitated, then placed her weight slowly on the leg. Immediately she felt stability and power. Unlike anything she had known, she took a small step, her heart leaping with joy and disbelief. She had never felt this free, this alive. The hum of the workshop seemed to respond to her movement. She lifted her other leg and stepped again, gaining confidence with each motion. Her face lit with a mixture of wonder and triumph. The human smiled faintly and encouraged her, "Keep going." She obeyed, moving carefully at first, then faster, each step more confident than the last. She realized for the first time that she could be strong. She could fight. She could survive her broken past, fading with every movement. The workshop around her glowed and hummed like it was celebrating with her. The human watched closely, ensuring she remained safe. As she tested her limits, she discovered she could jump higher than before and balance easily on uneven surfaces. The new leg felt alive, almost like it knew what she wanted before she did. She laughed softly at the sensation, never imagining such power could belong to her. She glanced toward the reinforced windows and thought of the gang that had tried to take her. She no longer felt fear, only a burning determination. She knew she could face anything. Now the human handed her a small staff glowing faintly. He said, "This will help you focus your strength." She took it carefully, feeling a new sense of readiness. The alien girl realized she was no longer just broken. She was becoming something greater, someone capable of protecting herself and others. She tested the leg further, running and jumping over small obstacles in the workshop. Feeling exhilaration surge through her. She glanced at the human and saw pride and calm determination. He said, "You are ready for what comes next." She nodded, understanding that challenges were still ahead, but now she had the power and courage to face them. The shadows outside the workshop still lurked and suspense lingered in the air, but she no longer felt helpless. She felt alive, capable, and unstoppable. She imagined stepping out into the market again, not as the broken girl everyone ignored, but as someone strong, confident, and worthy of respect. The hum of the prosthetic leg pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. She could feel energy coursing through her veins. She looked at her reflection in a glowing panel and barely recognized herself. A girl who had been weak and broken now stood tall, radiant, and ready for anything. The human nodded and said, "The world will test you, but you will rise." The alien girl smiled. Feeling a surge of gratitude and determination, she had trusted him, and he had delivered. She had feared betrayal, but instead found hope, strength, and courage. She stepped forward, practicing swift movements, her new abilities feeling the first true sense of freedom in her life. The suspense was far from over, but now she faced it not with fear but with power, determination, and the confidence that she was no longer broken. The alien girl stood tall in the glowing workshop, her new prosthetic leg humming with power beneath her. She felt energy coursing through her veins, a mixture of strength, courage, and determination flooding her entire body. She glanced at the human who had given her this gift and saw pride and calm reassurance in his eyes. She took a deep breath and tested her balance, running across the glowing floor, her steps sure and swift, every movement precise and confident. She felt unstoppable. For the first time in her life, the door rattled slightly, a shadow moving beyond the reinforced panels. The gang that had attacked before was back, and their low growls echoed through the corridors. Suspense gripped her chest, but she did not panic. Instead, she flexed her fingers and tightened her grip on the glowing staff. The human nodded at her silently, signaling that it was time. She felt a surge of excitement. The first real test of her new abilities was here. The gang broke through the outer doors, their eyes wide in shock, as they saw the alien girl standing tall and ready. They shouted curses and threats, but she did not flinch. Her leg pulsed with energy, and she felt the rhythm of movement flow through her body. She stepped forward, lightly leaping and dodging the first strike. A clawed alien lunged at her, but she pivoted smoothly and slammed the staff down, sending a burst of electric energy through the attacker. He fell stunned. She moved with speed and grace, balancing perfectly over uneven floor panels. The gang looked confused and hesitant, their confidence shattered. The human moved alongside her, controlling the drones and activating holographic traps. She realized she was no longer helpless. She was part of a team, a force. The workshop itself seemed to respond to her presence. Lights flickered in rhythm with her movements. The air felt charged and alive. Every heartbeat and every pulse of the prosthetic leg filled her with new confidence. She darted across the room, knocking another intruder back with precise strikes. She laughed softly, the sound of triumph and freedom. For the first time, she felt not like a broken alien, but like a hero. She glanced at the human and he nodded again, signaling her to keep moving. She leaped onto a higher platform and launched herself toward the remaining attackers. Each movement fluid and unstoppable. She realized her body had learned to trust the prosthetic leg as an extension of herself, not a replacement, but a weapon and a gift. The aliens tried to regroup, but every step they took was anticipated. She struck and dodged with precision, energy bursts illuminating the workshop, their shouts echoing around her. The human activated a final defensive barrier. The gang fell back, trapped by glowing grids and electric nets. The alien girl stood in the center, her chest heaving from exertion, adrenaline and joy mingling together. She looked around the room, her eyes catching the floating drones, the glowing panels and the tools that had become part of her transformation. She felt invincible. She had gone from being ignored and unwanted to standing tall, as someone strong and capable. The gang retreated outside, knowing they could not win today. She felt pride not just in surviving, but in rising above the past that had tried to define her. She realized she had trusted someone, and that trust had changed her. She had feared betrayal, but instead found power, courage, and hope. She glanced at the human and smiled, a small spark of gratitude passing between them. The shadows outside the workshop lingered still, mysterious and threatening, but she no longer felt fear. She felt ready. She had become more than broken. She had become unstoppable. She moved toward the door, her glowing prosthetic leg humming with energy, each step confident and strong. The workshop glowed around her, the machines and gadgets quiet now, but alive as, if acknowledging her victory, she knew that challenges would come again. But now she had power, courage, and trust. She could face anything and survive and thrive. The human placed a hand briefly on her shoulder and said, "The world will try to break you, but you will rise." She nodded, determination and excitement shining in her eyes. She stepped out into the unknown, ready for whatever came next. The market and the universe beyond waited, and she was no longer the alien girl no one wanted. She was the alien girl who had trusted a human and discovered her own extraordinary strength, and for the first time she felt unstoppable, capable, and free.